You can go on our website, and for each town and village, we give the information. It's a scholarly report. There's no names. You can see on an individual basis, each of these local officials are sort of underpaid, but once you start talking about 45 times 439, you talk about a little bit of money. But perhaps the most interesting information that we provide is up in the upper left-hand corner there. For each town and village, again, I was lying in bed one night and I was thinking to myself, gee, it might be interesting to try to determine what the ratio is of politicians to citizens, to residents in each municipality. Eden, a lovely, lovely town, 7,000 folks, they've got 12 politicians, their ratio is 1,500 to 1. If Buffalo had the same ratio of residents to politicians as the town of Eden, there'd have to be 176 common council members. There are 9 common council members. There's the Eden staff, they work well. By the way, this study revealed, of course, that the services that we receive here in these jurisdictions are among the finest in America. The question I'm posing is, could we equally well deliver them without the added burden of the government level? Here's the village of Williamsville, Tony Village, 1 square mile, 5,000 folks, 6 PALs. Their ratio is 1,000 to 1. If Buffalo had the same ratio, there'd be 263 common council members. So what this study revealed is the highest concentration of politicians here in Erie County is in the suburbs. It's in the suburbs. And the reason is because we're operating under the system that has, in our instance, since the Civil War, hasn't been changed, retouched, reimagined, or reformed. Hasn't been changed since we bled all those people. And where in the suburbs, where are they concentrated? In the villages. In the villages. I want to go back for 1 second and remind you that in Greater Baltimore, 1.6 million people, 1.6 million people, 3 governments. What that means is all the villages and towns and lovely bucolic settings that are in Maryland, they're gorgeous. They're just as beautiful as ours. They have the same zoning laws, they have the same garbage pickup, they have the same high environmental standards, but they're not incorporated municipalities. They don't add to the tax burden. And we're going to talk about something else because the citizens there have actually, taken back the functions and duties that politicians perform on our behalf as if we aren't capable of it here. So, I've had the honor of taking this message during the course of this journey throughout Erie County. Here's all the towns and villages that we visited, and it was just such a great, remarkable education and enriching. What's that old Johnny Cash song? I do a great impression. See what you think of Johnny Cash. I've been everywhere, man. Got to put you in the mood here. I've got to get you on the tour. So here we are in summer 2008, and we'd rather be no place else. And what are we doing? What are we doing to celebrate the summer? We're closing hospitals. We're closing places of worship. You can't pick up the Buffalo News and not read these painful stories of people saying, I can't go to my church anymore. It's not there. They've closed it. We're closing libraries. We're closing beaches. We're closing pools. And in the course of closing all those amenities, we're eroding not only our sense of community, but indeed our sense of self. And to me, that means we have to change. One of my great heroes, Franklin Roosevelt, he said, if you work in government and you're trying something and it doesn't work, then try something else. And if that doesn't work, then try something else. But for the love of God, try something. And we have to change, and we've lost the capacity to change here in our community. And one of the reasons is because I think we've developed fear of change, which is not good. What are the poets and all the songwriters? They say change will do you good. Trying to get you in the mood here. If you leave with one thought today, a change will do you good. Because what we have here is a crisis. There's no doubt about it. And what I've done on this journey is I've gone to each of these towns and villages and posed just 2 questions. And they're the same questions that anyone poses in a crisis. If you're a head of a household, a head of a company, if you're a father, if you're just a human being. In a crisis, you ask yourself, are all of us, are we doing everything we can, and I mean everything we can, to reverse this crisis? And I don't mean just politicians, we citizens. And in the course of doing that, what I found is, let's say I was in town X, and I would make the presentation, and they'd say, Kev, we hear what you're saying, and you're a nice fellow. You're a little nuts. But here's the thing. Here in Town X, we only have 7 politicians, and we're doing okay. We're not hurting anyone. And I think when they say that, they're thinking about government all wrong, and they're thinking about community all wrong. And they remind me of what's the great Frank Capra film that we see in the holidays, It's a Wonderful Life. The story of George Bailey and He marries Donna Reed. I remember I was so jealous of him even when I was 10 years old. And they're about to go off on their honeymoon, but there's a run at the bank at the Old Bailey Building and Loan. And all of a sudden, all the depositors come in and they say, we want everything. We got to have everything the way it is, and we want it now. And each of those depositors make me think of all the towns, and particularly the villages, say, no, no, we have to have everything. Let's take a look at what George Bailey says to them.
You're thinking of this place all wrong, as if I had the money back in a safe. The money's not here. Well, your money's in Joe's house, that's right next to yours, and in the Kennedy house, and Mrs. Maitland's house, and 100 others. You're lending them the money to build, and then they're going to pay it back to you as best they can. Now, what are you going to do, foreclose on them?
I got $242 in here, and $242 isn't going to break anybody.
Now, we can get through this thing all right. We've got to stick together, though. We've got to have faith in each other.
But my husband hasn't worked in over a year, and I need money.
How am I going to live until the bank opens?
I got back to bills to pay. I need cash.
Here's $2,000. This will tide us over to the bank reopens. All right, Tom, how much do you need?
$242.
No, Tom, just enough to tide you over to the bank.
I'll take $242.
All right, Miss Davis.
Could I have $17.50?
I sure are. Of course you can have it. You got 50 cents.
What that teaches us in a crisis, if you're selfish, you're harmful. But if you sacrifice, you're heroic. And any politician here in Erie County, and I told them on your behalf, if they'll sacrifice for us, we will deem them heroic. And I'm getting through, but I need your help to get through a little more. In terms of the lessons that we learned then, we'll summarize a couple of them, the ones that I think are most important. What I learned in this journey is that local government isn't broken here in Erie County. It's obsolete. It hasn't been changed. I attended over 150 town and board meetings and village trustees meetings during the course of the last 2 years. And going to them, it's almost like traveling back in time, to the time of horses and carriages and frock coats and gas lights. Because number one, they conduct their business as if there's 45,000 people there, under Robert's Rules of Order, when there's just 2 or 3. And they take up so much time, roll call votes on whether to hold the prom or whether to buy some gravel, or indeed they actually vote on whether to pay the bills. And I got to tell you something. Now, by the way, you can't really chuckle too much, because here comes the harsh love. You don't go anymore. I didn't see you there. Now, principally because we've given up. We're tired of being repelled by it. We'll go if we need a zoning variance, we need something done. You sit through the experience, and then you get your little vote, and then you walk out and you shake your head like the Aflac duck. But until you come back, it's going to stay like that. Local government in America is the most intimate level of government, but here in Erie County, it also manages to be the most remote. And the reason is because most of the meetings, what happens is they've already decided everything. They come out and they put on a little show. And they don't even let citizens comment in the roost. They don't even let them participate in the sort of roost. And it makes for a dysfunctional system and reduces, what it does is, it has the effect of taking and transferring the traditional American skepticism with which we all view government, and it rises it to a level of cynicism. And that adds to our dysfunction and our lack of hope and the edge that we all feel as Erie County residents. No drop of rain believes it's responsible for the flood. I can't tell you how many stops on this journey. We made our presentation, and almost to a one, the politicians agreed there's too many politicians and there's too much government. But then they went on to say, no, but here, it's not us. It's not this drop of